Right, welcome guys. Good morning, afternoon, evening, whenever it is that you might be listening to the Rain It In Horse Racing podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Got a fantastic show lined up for us this evening. We're going to be trying to look at the final bits of the festival value over the 4 days coming up all next week at Cheltenham. Now, before I introduce my guests, just want to start the episode by mentioning the late Michael O'Sullivan. We postponed the podcast the last couple of weeks as just didn't feel really right doing things after such obviously horrible news for the whole racing community. Fabulous young jockey who I know was very well respected by all his peers and the weighing room and everyone involved in racing. Obviously a young man who had a fantastic career in front of him. And just on behalf of everyone involved with Rain It In Horse Racing, we would just like to pass on again our heartfelt condolences to all his family and friends of Michael. So just want to say that before we got started. So so on to the anti-post value special today, where we were taking a look at the last pieces of value and the anti-post betting for Cheltenham Festival. So we needed someone with a bit of credibility rather than just myself and Bo. Those of you that obviously are on social media and follow Bo, he has become one of the most hated men on X over the last couple of weeks with some of his tips and some of his posts that he's been putting up. Luckily, our guest is someone who doesn't have that that stigma. He's actually somebody who I know me and Bo have had a lot of admiration for in the past with his selections over the past few years, and we're delighted that he's agreed to join us. So a man that needs no introduction. We're pleased to welcome Gavin Lynch on with us this evening. So, Gavin, firstly, how are you keeping, and just how much are you looking forward to next week for the festival?
Good, Craig and Bo. How are you, lads? Thanks for the invite. Sure, it's fantastic. I think that early March is maybe the best time of the year. The weather's getting a bit better. The evening's getting a bit brighter. The winter's over. Cheltenham's round the corner. We haven't backed a loser yet. And I don't think, I'm not sure if people in England realise how important Cheltenham is to everybody over here. We just absolutely, we idolise it and we love it. So yeah, it's great. Can't wait.
Good stuff. And Bo, you just got back from Vegas. Have you topped up the Cheltenham funds in Vegas, or all gone?
No, I wasn't. I was keeping out of all of that stuff. It'll be next week when the betting commences, not last week. I can't be losing my Cheltenham kitty 2 weeks before Cheltenham. That wouldn't be very good. So, no, stayed away from all of that. But I'm having a hard time finding value at this point at the moment. So let's see if we can crack some winners.
I would say we'll hold that thought then while we get into the racing itself. So just a quick introduction to the format of how we're going to be doing this episode. So we're looking at each day. We're not going to go through each race. We're just going to be sort of opening up the days to each person, just so we can have a look, see if we can maybe see any juice left in any of the prices. Maybe those horses where if everything falls into place, you could see them running a big race. Like I say, I'm sure a lot of you by this point now have heard a lot of previews with a lot of the same horses mentioned. So hopefully we can try and steer you into maybe a little different direction. So we'll start with day one. Obviously, we've got a race like the Supreme, the Arkle, the Fred Winter, the Ultima. So we'll start obviously with you, Gavin. Big first day, normally a day that is quite synonymous with short price favourites that have gone in the past. Is there any horses that are sticking out to you, maybe that aren't at the forefront of the betting?
Probably not really on the Tuesday, but we'll have a chat. Is if you're looking for, are you looking for 20 to 1 shots but end up 10 to 1? But also sometimes there's value, like for example, if you're going to do a multiple, I think Madgeborough, I think is 8 to 13 at the minute. I think he'll go off 4 to 9. So I'm not saying that's value, but I'm just making the point that if you're looking for a horse to go off shorter, I think he will. I think Kopek the board is odds on at the moment. I think he'll be even money all day, or 11 to 10 or 5 to 4. I do think he'll take a huge amount of beating, but I think he'll drift. I've no strong opinion on the Ultima. The Mayor's Hurdle is still a bit of a mess at the moment, and you've got Joyeuse and Golden Ace been well backed the last couple of days. I could see a little bit of money coming for Cala Conti. The Champion Hurdle, not really. I think that the Fred Winter, the Juvenile Hurdle, like Jesus, they're betting so tight on this, it's incredible. Total Look got £7 from the British handicapper. He's only 11 to 2. Stencil is 5 to 1. I think if Lady Vega Allen runs in this instead of the Triumph Hurdle, she'd have a big chance. She's got a proper top class form in it. But again, I just think they're betting a bit tight. I think you can get 4 to 1 now as the hour. If I was going to pick one horse for the Tuesday, I think I'd go for now as the hour. He's 4 to 1 available there with William Hill, Triple Eight Sport. I think he'll drift a bit for a while. His only little quirk is that maybe he wants softer ground, but I could see him going off shorter by the time the SPs come. I think he could be 4-1, 9-2 between now and Tuesday, but I could still see him SPing at 11-4. So if I was going to pick one horse that was decent value, he's only 4-1, but I would probably say him. I think he's got a massive chance.
Yeah, he came for a lot of support, didn't he, recently as well. Just touch on the mares hurdle, Gavin. How do you see this sort of panning out in terms of horses turning up? Can you see Lossiemouth moving from the champion hurdle to this? Because obviously, if she does, that's obviously going to blow up the whole market as you see it now.
Yeah, I don't think she will. I'd say she's probably, what is she, 75-25 to stay at the champion hurdle. I hope she goes the champion and just make it the best race, a better race. If she doesn't go, she'd usually go off Fab for sure, but I could see her drifting. I think she's too short at 15-8. I'd say she'll be 5-2 on the Tuesday, particularly with Golden Ace, July Flower, Joyeuse. I'd imagine Cargeese will go to the county hurdle off 141. There's been a bit of talk about Cala Conti, but yeah, I'd imagine Lossiemouth will go to the champion hurdle. What do you think?
I am very much 50-50. About a couple months ago, around sort of Christmas time, when we saw the performances of both of them, I was very much sort of like saying, well, no, I think they'll both got the champion hurdle. After the DRF, with Lossiemouth obviously falling, the first thing that came to my mind is I can't remember, and you might be able to tell me differently, I can't remember the last time a horse won a champion hurdle and not won at 2 miles that same season. Obviously, she's finished second to Constitution Hill, and then obviously she's fallen against Stateman. Not saying that obviously they were both poor performances, but I was adamant that both mares wouldn't go to this race. I always thought one would defect. So now that Brighter Days Ahead's obviously gone to the Cheltenham Champion Hurdle, I still think it might be 60-40 that she might go to the mares, just pure on the basis of the fact that the Champion Hurdle's such a strong race now. And I think I've just read before I've come onto this now that Burdett Road's also confirmed that he's going to the Champion Hurdle. So the pace of that race is going to be absolutely like scalded cats out from the front. Whether that's going to affect the decision as well, I'm not too sure. Bob, I'll bring you into that as well. What's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, well, Lossiemouth was one of the horses I wanted to mention really when just talking about value for a second. I mean, I think it will be interesting. I'd imagine Paul's going to ride Stateman. I think it's probably difficult for him to get off Stateman, having won at the DRF and obviously winning this last year. So I'd be interested in Gavin's thoughts, really. I mean, she's 11-2 at the moment. If we were to say she was going to go to this race, which I think she probably will. Do you think they'll get closer in the betting? Is there a possibility they might flip flop?
As in that Lossiemouth could be second favourite?
No, sorry, Lossiemouth and Stateman. So Lossiemouth could end up being fourth fav. Do you think there's any chance of that happening?
I wouldn't see that happening. Definitely not.
Yeah.
I think Stateman will SP at around 10-1. Poor Christmas, very poor the last day. Finished very tired. I think they went way too quick in the first mile, and then Lossiemouth fell. But it was very interesting that weekend when the entries came out on the Thursday or Friday. I think for a few minutes Patrick was jocked up on Lossiemouth, and then it changed to Danny.
Yeah.
So I'd imagine that the owners put their foot down, and maybe I'd be surprised if Danny doesn't ride Lossiemouth if they both show up. Yeah, Paul probably rides Statement just through loyalty. But it's very hard to fancy Statement, to be honest.
I think my angle into this race.
You were talking about it, weren't we, Bo, as well? We were saying that we actually think that at the DRF, I think he chose Statement out of loyalty, but I think in deep down he actually thought he was probably going to get beat by Lossiemouth to make his decision a bit easier at the festival.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, Stateman's doesn't look like he's been the same horse this season. I mean, my play into this race is probably going to find some sort of match bet between Lossiemouth and Brighter Days Ahead. I think Lossiemouth will beat Brighter Days Ahead. I remember earlier in the season when on Racing TV or something, when it was put to Gordon about going to, I think it was the Champion Hurdle, and he sort of just replied saying, "There's a mare called Lossiemouth. I think she's very special. She's obviously got Cheltenham form. The Cheltenham form of Brighter Days Ahead would concern me. I know there's been a lot of people talking about it, and I don't want to talk about the Champion Hurdle too much. I know people have had their thoughts on it, but I really do think Lossiemouth to beat Brighter Days Ahead is a decent enough bet. And if Constitution Hill doesn't perform, she might just nick the win. But
It's very interesting that on Monday a lot of the bookmakers were given three places on the champion hurdle, but I see now on Wednesday that they're nearly all going two places, so that's something just to have kept in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't give away for free, do they? Well,
No.
my horse for day one is actually Beyond Your Dreams in the Fred Winter. Now, when obviously I know we've obviously postponed this recording. When we were going to record it, she was double figures at the time. I think she was about 14, 12 to 1, something like that. She's now into 8 to 1. Now she split Total Luck and Wendrock a couple of starts ago. They're now rating the bitch. I think it's 132 and 136. Beyond Your Dreams has been given 1, 2, 3. So I'm not going to use the phrase that she's been thrown in, but I do think she's been given one hell of a chance at the weights. Now she won last time out, albeit not all convincingly, but that wouldn't really deter me away from her. I think if you look at previous winners, sometimes they haven't always looked the best the race before.
Tell me this, Craig, would you worry a little bit about her jumping?
Yeah, quite possibly. For me, it's just one of those, though, Gavin. I don't know if the weight might just see her through a little bit. I think looking at it, you would probably imagine that Mark Walsh will probably be on stencil, I'm guessing. I could be wrong.
Yeah,
I know that's a JPO, so I'm assuming stencil will probably be Mark Walsh. So another big thing for me is probably going to be the jockey booking. I don't know who's actually going to be on her. I don't know if you two have got an opinion who might obviously jock up on her, but I'm not too sure who that will be. But that's also going to be in the back of my mind as well when the declarations come out, is just to see that. But no, I mean, to be fair, Lady Vega Allen, what you said, Gavin, I know she was quite well regarded, obviously, at Willys, and I think if he goes, that might be one tough to find. He's 10 to 1 at the minute, isn't he? The one I can't definitely have in that race is Willie D. However you say that, I just don't know how anybody could back that in a million years after what we've seen so far.
I'd imagine stencil might be ridden by James Reevely. I think rides for the trainer a lot. Rode him.
Well,
I think
and I suppose it depends. Obviously, I don't know what Beyond Your Dreams will be carrying. I'm assuming it'll be about what will it be, top end 10 stone something.
I think it's right at the bottom.
So yeah, it might end up being Mark Walsh if that's the case. James really ends up on stencil, then you might have Mark Walsh from Beyond Your Dreams, and that'll probably bring it down again. But obviously, it'll be Joseph's main arrow at the race. Obviously, Naturally Nimble came out as well, so they obviously must think a little bit of her. So we'll, but that's my angle into the race anyway.
I think the other horse that I just wanted to quickly mention, the one thing I would just say, maybe not necessarily advising a bet on these horses yet, because we're in a weird period where we've only got a few days left, and non-winner no bet is obviously taking a lot of the value away. So maybe it's better to wait close to the time on decks. But Transmission, I think, has an absolutely huge chance in the National Hunt Chase. I think he's going to love the ground, and I think he's a proper stayer. I think he's going to relish that sort of extra 4 furlongs or whatever he's going to be running over. Rumours are that Paddy's going to be on board. I don't necessarily mind that. Paddy's obviously ridden winners in this race before when it was an amateur race, a top amateur. So, yeah, I think Transmission's got an almighty chance in the last on Tuesday, but just maybe at 6 to 1 is a bit skinny at the moment.
Yeah, it's seen a bit of money, those Transmission as well. And just touch on that, Bozo, before we move on to day 2, just touch on that in terms of the declaration as well. What you'll probably find as well is that some of these prices might not move massively between now and the race. And then when you get to race day, people like your Sky Bet and some other firms will be putting probably 6, 7 places out for some of these races as well. So it might be worth just hanging fire. But rather than putting them on now, I would probably say. But right, we'll move on to day 2. So you've also got the Turners Novices, the Browns, the Coral Cup, Cross Country, Champion Chase, Grand Annual, and then the bumper to finish off. So Gavin, again, we'll come to you. Day 2 for us.
I'll give you 2 horses that I think are okay value at the moment. One is Comfort Zone in the Coral Cup, 16 to 1 for Joseph. And JP was very impressive in Nace on the flat, 1 off 86, went up £8 to 94 on the flat. Had a run at Leopardstown over hurdles, finished 3rd. I'd call it, out of 5 stars, I'd make it a 1-star bet. But I think 16 to 1 is too big a price. I could see that going off 10 to 1. And then in the cross country, I think Bustleton is still good value. I've backed that a while ago at a bigger price, but it's still 8 to 1. I think that's still reasonably fair. Is in here off 135. sorry, 138 for carrying 10 stone 5. Apologies. Stumptown, who I think is a big danger because his jumping is amazing. He's carrying top weight there at 11.10. I still think he's a big danger, and I might have a saver on Stumptown if I get 3-1, which I think he'll drift a little bit. But I could see Bustleton got off 5 or 6-1. Did win a Kerry National at the age of 5, but last summer won a 2 mile handicap on the flat of Galway off a rating of 80. So there's very few of these that win a flat handicap. He's had 2 spins around the fences, was an eye catcher both times, jumped fine, and I think carrying 10 stone 5 with the others all carrying big weights, I think Bustleton has a very, very strong each way chance, and the drier the ground gets, the better for him over the next week.
I'm not sure if you've seen Gavin, but have you seen your great friend David Jennings? He's very sweet on Comfort Zone. He's been talking about him quite a bit.
I didn't see that, no. I
Yeah,
know that David
so
fancies, I heard him saying that he fancies the Paul Nichols horse in the novice handicap chase, and I'd give
yeah,
him no chance.
Coldwell.
I'd give him no chance, but anyway, that's just me.
Paul, go on to you then for day 2.
Yes. So in the Brown Advisory, I quite like the look of Better Days Ahead. Again, it's one of them where is he going to shorten much from 8-1? I'm not entirely sure. Maybe slightly. Ballyburn, obviously, the horse to beat here. But Better Days Ahead has that form in the Martin Pike from last year. And I don't think he's done anything wrong this season. He's bumped into Croke Park, who's not going to run here. And I just think at the prices, he's probably the play there. I think Ballyburn's probably a bit short 5-4 to trust that jumping. And Dancing City might just be a bit slow. So, yeah, that would be one of them. And then I was going to talk about Copacabana in the bumper, but again, there's no value in 4-1, but I'm hoping that that's who Paddy's going to pick. I was really impressed with his debut. We know that the bumper scene has been a bit crap this year, to be honest, and to me, he looked like the standout in a poor division. So I think he's head and shoulders the best horse in the bumper division. I was really impressed. He put away a good field pretty easily, and we had a peek under the bonnet and saw what he had. So I was really taken with that. But yeah, probably wait close to the time on that one.
Yeah, well, one main one for me is in the Grand Annual. It's the horse that we put up at the start of the very season. There's a horse to follow, which is Jazzy Matty, previous course winner. I think he's second to Path Dory at Cheltenham back in October. I think he's a really good piece of form. He only got beat ahead by Path Dory, giving him weight as well. He's already obviously improved from a hurdler to a chaser. Already his official rating's miles better than what it was ever as a hurdler. And it looks like he's just been completely mapped out for this race. I did bump into Dennis O'Regan at the DRF as well, and he was saying obviously he's quite close with Cian Collins, and he was saying that the horse is just working really well, and they have been sort of saving him now for Cheltenham. They gave him a spin as well, obviously over hurdles, I think, just to probably freshen him up a little bit. But I think the way that he runs, he's tenacious. He has got a big heart, and it'll probably suit that sort of big handicap. Obviously, he won the Boodles, didn't he, a couple of years ago as well. So, course form for me is always a big thing. It is a tough race, as the Grand Annual. So, I'm not trying to say that he's a nap, or obviously, as you put there, Gavin, he's not a 5-star bet, but he's certainly for me a 3-star in terms of what I think he's going to bring to the table, and I think you can still get him at double figure price. So, for those that do like each way betting, I think he's a cracking each way bet at this moment in time. I think he's carrying. I think he's 135 at this moment as well. Obviously on ratings. And then the only other race I was going to mention is the Champion Chase, because I really do want to find something to go against John Bond, but I am struggling. I'm not going to lie. I think I don't know where it is. You were mentioning about on day one there, Gavin, about obviously some of the short price favourites, but I still can't have John Bond at 10-11. I don't know where it is. I don't know if it's a mindset thing or anything like that, but I would love to have a go against him. I think obviously Energamy is not going to probably like the ground, probably going to be a bit too quick for him, possibly. I don't know. I mean, am I just being daft? I mean, can you go against John Bond? Is he just in that good a form that he's just going to win because it's a bit of a poor race? Or
I think it's a poor race. It's kind of I'm similar to you, but John Bond. I'm not sure if I've ever backed him many times. His three defeats have come with Cheltenham, but I think what's a huge factor is that Nico riding him. I think he's 7 from 7 over fences. He's quite aggressive on the horse. It seems to suit him. James Bone didn't get on with him in the Clarence House last year, so I think he's a big factor. But his form's not quite as good at Cheltenham. But then again, it is a poor race. Sonus has a squeak. Quilixias at 40 to 1 probably is a small each way chance. There's a lot of good talk about Marine National recently and that he's working really well, but I'll actually end up having no bet in the champion chase, to be honest with you. I can't, I want to find something to take on John Bond with, but I can't really find it, so I'll just keep my hands in my pockets, I think.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same as you, Gavin. Exactly the same. Right, we'll move on to day 3, which is predominantly an absolute graveyard for punters, or it has been sometimes in the past. There's some really tough races in here. You've got the Mayor's Novice, the newly named Jack Richards Novices Handicap Chase, the Potemps, Ryanair, Stayers, the Plate, the Kimure. Bo, we'll start with you on this one. Anyone's for day 3 for us to have a look at any value?
Yeah, I'm going to the Pertemps, which is a trappy race. I'm going to side with Gordon Elliott, Patter Merchant, Jigginstown. He's a novice. I feel like he's been sort of mapped out for this race. I'm not entirely sure what the plan is for him and if he's going to go. I've not been able to find anything, but to me, he looks a likely candidate. Finished a nice 4th to Will the Wise in a qualifier recently, and Will the Wise was very impressive that day. But I think this lad is just improving with every run. I really liked he made a mistake at the. Sorry, I really like that he sort of put his head through a couple of horses to finish 4th, and he really sort of knuckled down on heavy ground. And I was just really impressed with him. He ran in the sort of big 3-mile handicap at the DRF, beaten by Percival Lagalwa, made a mistake at the second last, probably put his chances completely away with that. And I'm a big fan of a horse called I Am Lorenzo. He's a horse that I think going forward is going to win a big handicap. And this lad beat him in his maiden hurdle. So I think there's a bit of form there around to suggest that he'll be an improver. He's only rated 134, so I think he's got some movement up his sleeve there. He's 18 to 1 non-runner no bet, so I think it's a fair enough price. I'm not entirely sure what the plans are for Gordon's other horse or the favourite. I'm not sure if he's going to go here or the Stayers, but this could be Gordon's number 1 in the race if he doesn't go. So yeah, I very much like the look of him.
Yeah, so Gavin, day 3.
Day 3, I actually have a few bits for you for day 3. I know it can be a bit of a minefield the Thursday, but I'll just mention a few to you. Now, I'm not saying, for example, the first race, all I'm going to give you is a couple of horses I think will end up shorter, if that's okay.
No, spot on. Yeah, that's spot on.
So I'm not saying these will win. I just think that they're probably overpriced. The first one is Aurora Vega. I'm not sure she's going to go, but she's 16 to 1 simply because after she won the Solarino, which is the good guide to this race, Willie Mullen said, oh, she's not going to Cheltenham, she's going to Fairyhouse at Easter. The only thing is that there's over 4 weeks. Easter's very late this year. It's the 20th of April is Easter Sunday. So I think there might be a chance that Aurora Vega goes to the Mayor's Novice. And if she does, I think she'll go off maybe 8 to 1, but not 16 to 1. And the other one that's a bit overpriced, I'd say, is Air of Entitlement. The Henry horse beat Ballybow, only getting £2. Carol Miller was claiming 5 that day. She absolutely bolted up, and Ballybow has won twice since. I just can't see her going off 16 to 1, that's all. In the Jack Richards, I'll give you an interesting conundrum or possible scenario is Asian Master in this race. At the moment, the weights might go up, but if the weights didn't go up, he's due to carry 11 stone 2. Thomas Costello has to claim £7. That'll leave him at 10 stone 9. He's 6'5". He can't do 10 stone 9. The British authorities allow a jockey carry £3 overweight, but he definitely can't do 10-12. So just on the Tuesday morning, keep an eye out for what weight Asia Master gets and who's riding it. Now, the good thing is, even if Thomas, he's a good jockey, it's fine, but I think, the pros are better than amateurs. But on the Tuesday morning at 10:40, when you see the entries, for Thursday. Keep an eye out. It might take another hour or two, but you'll see the jockeys. And even if he does ride it, at least this year he can claim 7, whereas he couldn't claim 7 in the Supreme. So, but I just think if there's a professional jockey on board, Asia Master could go off, maybe even favourite. And the step up and trip to 2.5 miles would really suit. In the Pertemps, I think Feet of a Dancer is overpriced at 12 to 1. Paul Nolan won this a few years ago. She's got a nice profile. She ran the Pertemps qualifier, got there way too soon. She travels very strongly. She's a little bit like that horse of the Coopers, Dar. He travels strongly too. But Feet of a Dancer travels really well, jumps well. First time at 3 miles, she got there way too soon. And I think if they hold on to her much later, she has definitely an each way squeak in the Pertemps. And I can't see her going off 12 to 1. The Ryanair is too hard. The Stairs Hurdle, I think the Wall Park is available there at 12 to 1. I think if he goes to the Stairs instead of the Pertemps, I think he's got a big chance. And I could see him going off 6 or 7 to 1 in the Pertemps or the Stairs if he goes this way. He loved the good ground. My only little worry for him is if they go slow, Gowl Road, and I'd like to see a fast run race for the Wall Park. And I think he's got a great each way chance at 12 to 1. And again, I think he'll go off a little shorter. And in the Kim Muir Midnight Our Fred, I've backed him a while ago at a much bigger price. He's 8 to 1 now. I think 8 to 1 is maybe about the right price, but he'd very good run in the Paddy Power Christmas. Second to Percival Le Galois. The race has worked out well, and he's only carrying £4 more. He's off 132 in the Kim Muir. Obviously, we found out today that Johnny Who is going to be ridden by Derek O'Connor. He's into 5 to 1 for the race, but I think Midnight Our Fred is an each way chance at around 8 to 1.
Gavin, just very quickly, because the horse that I was going to mention was actually Dar for Thomas Cooper. Obviously, probably more of a trainer that is probably more well known, obviously, over in Ireland. What's the sort of feel for that horse? Like you say, he's a very strong travelling horse. Obviously, came over to Carlisle, finished second in one of the Pertemps races over here. Is he? I mean, I think is he the same rating now? I think, or same weight as Feet of a Dancer, isn't he?
Yeah, Dar trained by Thomas Cooper. Don't forget, he did win the champion bumper with Total Enjoyment. I actually might have been in Cheltenham that day, and I think I backed her.
You definitely remember that, Gavin. You definitely remember that. Don't be so modest.
But yeah, so he's a good trainer. He's obviously getting plenty of advice from Brian, his son. Dar travelled very strongly and was second in Carlisle and looked all over a winner that day. Went off 94 favourite and got chinned a neck in the end. But I think it probably did its overall chances a lot of good by getting beat, because then the handicapper hasn't gone too mad. I think it might be up to 136, and Feet of a Dancer's up 136 as well. Yeah, so they're two very similar horses. They'll be held up. The two of them will arrive out on the outside before they turn in. They'll both be travelling very, very strongly. I just think maybe Feet of a Dancer might be a stronger finisher, but I wouldn't put you off Dar. Definitely an each way chance for sure.
Yeah, well, that was mine anyway. And you put it better than me anyway. So move on to you, Bo.
Outside of that, I don't really have anything else. I really like, I like the look of Mint Boy in the Kim Muir. Gavin Cromwell obviously won it last year. Percival with I Know the Way You're Thinking. Sorry. There's not much in his form to suggest that he's sort of up to this standard, I suppose. But I thought his last run was quite eye-catching. Travelled well into the race, and then sort of after the last, they were very easy on him. And his beginner's chase, I think he's working out okay. So after that, they've kind of just run him over the wrong trip. I mean, what they were doing, running him over 2 miles 1 at Leopardstown over Christmas, I'm not entirely sure. So he's one I like, and I think he will probably go off shorter as well.
Right, that'll do. With no further ado, we'll move straight on to day 4 then. So we've got the Triumph County Hurdle, Mare's Chase, the Bartlett, the Gold Cup, the Hunter's Chase, and the Pipe. So, Gavin, we'll start back with you again. Day 4, obviously the final day, all about the Gold Cup, but is there any nuggets kicking around elsewhere?
I'm not saying I'll back this horse. Again, I'm only just pointing out maybe a shorter price. I'd say if Galileo Dame goes for the Triumph, I'd say she'll go off shorter than 16 to 1. A very highly rated flat horse, jumped terribly at Christmas, jumped better the last day. Only 2 hurdles in the last 7 furlongs would suit her. As I said to you, I might not even back her, but I'm just saying to you, I don't think she'll go off 16 to 1. In the county and the Martin Pipe, it all revolves around Kopek to me. I think whatever race he runs in, I think he'll go off 5 to 2 favourite. And if he doesn't go to the Martin Pipe, I think Woodoo, who's available at 6 to 1, I think she'll definitely go off short on that, particularly, as I said, if Kopek to me goes to the county or the Coral Cup. I could see Woody going off 3-1 favourite. The form per race, as we all know, worked out very well. So I think the two handicaps on the Friday definitely revolve around Kopek to me. I think there's a lot of talk of him. And then the other races, nothing major to report, I don't think.
No, the only one for me, I'll jump in now before you, but the only one that's not I will say jumped out at me, but the one that's of interest to me, if it does run, is actually in the Albert Bartlett. It's Argento Boy for Willie Mullins. Now, the Albert Bartlett's the only race for me that I don't mind backing quite a high-priced runner in it. I think every now and then it does throw up the odd high high SP. Now, Argento Boy, arguably his best form's come when he's obviously gone further up in trip. He was only one length behind the big Westerner at Punchestown. That was over 2 mile 5, and then he won at Punchestown again over 2 mile and 7. Really comfortably, won by 15 lengths. Granted, it wasn't the strongest race in the world, but when I look at the betting, let me just grab it up right quick. When I grab up the betting now, you've got some of these now. Obviously, Final Demand, the Yellow Clay are the two and top of the market, 15-8, 7-2. Likely is them two might not even go. You've got the big Westerner, Jasmine DeVoe, couldn't back in a million years. Jet Blue, you mentioned before, Bo. I think has got a good chance. And then after that, you've got a lot of horses that are pretty much the same. Now, Argento Boy is currently 20-1 in the Albert Bartlett field. So that could very easily become 12-1, I think, if the right person jumps on board. It's one to monitor, one to have a look at. I don't know. I would probably imagine that Paul Townend would probably ride Jasmine DeVoe. Whether he wants to do or whether it's just been put on it, I'm not too sure. But yeah, I think Argento Boy at 20-1 is a big price. He's mine that sticks out for me on day 4. Bo?
Yeah, I mean, one of my strongest fancies of the week is on Friday. Now, again, not necessarily a good price to be backing out now. He's 5-1. It's in the Fox Hunters. Will it go ahead? I really do like this horse. I think he jumps like an absolute stag. I think he'll probably go off bigger than Will It Go Ahead than 5-1 that he is now. Beaten over Christmas by Cons Rock. I think the ground probably maybe went against him a bit, and he's going to love the ground on Friday. I just think it's a really poor race. I don't like the Emmett horse at all, particularly after that last run anyway. I think Angel's Dawn is the one to beat, and personally I'm more of a fan of a point-to-pointer or an out-and-out hunter chaser rather than a horse that sort of had a bit of class and then trying it for their first season. So I really do fancy Will It Go Ahead in the hunter chase. The other horse that I would probably mention would be Jet Blue. I think we'll put him up in the sort of Antipode series we did at 25s. I think, as you've already touched on, I think there's horses that aren't going to run in there. I think the big Westerner has to be respected from Henry. She's been very impressive this season, but Jet Blue's been to the course. He's done it. He was giving them all weight. I think he won well. So I think at 16-1, I think he's likely to go off shorter than that.
Right, spot on. Well, listen, like we said at the beginning, we try and make it short and snap when we do these podcasts. We don't like to try and overall people with a lot of things. So obviously we've come to the end of it now. What I would like to try and do if we can, and I'll try and get the bet on with William Hill if they'll accept £20 of my English sterling. Let's try and get together a lucky 15, maybe in each way, a lucky 15 between the three of us. So Gavin, we'll give you 2 picks, and then me and Bo will have 1 each. So Bo, what's yours? Very quickly.
I'm going to go Mint Boy in the Kim Mule.
Okay. Gavin, for us 2?
It's an each way lucky 15, is it?
That's the one, yeah. What we'll do, any winnings will go straight to the Injured Jockeys Fund.
Oh, very good. I'll go for the Wall Park and the Stairs Hurdle.
Yep.
10 or 12-1. And I will go for Now Is the Hour. You said William Hill, is it?
Probably the only one who'll let me put a bet on, to be fair, Gavin.
Yeah, so I think they're 4-1. Now Is the Hour. I think he's got a great chance with Keith riding. They have the pros allowed into the National Hunt Chase this year. And he jumps really well. Keith is brilliant in a chase. I think he'll just hunt away and come late. So the 2 I give you is Now Is the Hour in the National Hunt Chase and the Wall Park each way in the Stairs Hurdle.
Right, spot on. And then I'm going to put Argento Boy in there each way as well in the Albert Bartlett at 20-1. So what I'll do is we'll get the slip done, and I'll stick it on our Twitter just so obviously everyone's there, so we know exactly where we stand with it. Also, right, Gavin. Listen, thank you very much for coming on. Really massively appreciate it, and thanks
guys. Nice to chat to you.
Races. Been absolutely spot on.
Cheers, Gavin.
Bo, me and you are back on obviously at the weekend with us as full preview. So we'll come back to everybody at the weekend with that. But thanks very much for listening, guys, and we'll catch up with everybody soon. Have a good festival.